The Empire's mockery. The great hall of the Galactic Empire was filled with light and sound. High walls glowing with strange energy lines, banners of alien houses hanging heavy above the council floor. Rows of commanders, nobles, and lords sat in polished seats made of crystal and steel, their faces sharp and proud. Today they laughed. They laughed at the news that had just arrived. They laughed at the story of humanity's fall. They laughed as if the universe itself had already agreed that Earth was nothing but dust now. The Supreme Overseer raised his hand. His voice carried across the chamber. The humans are finished. Their fleets are broken. Their worlds are in ruin. Their cries are silent at last. The threat of Earth is no more. His words were heavy, but his tone was light with arrogance. The council roared with approval. Some clapped their hands. Others stamped their feet against the floor. The sound echoed like thunder. One general leaned forward, his fangs flashing as he laughed. We crushed them in one strike, and still they dared to fight back, foolish little race. They should have bowed long ago. Another noble, draped in robes of silver, hissed. Humans thought themselves clever, hiding in their small blue world, spreading like insects to nearby stars. But they were never warriors. They were only farmers and builders. What chance did they ever have against the Empire? The laughter grew louder. Cruel and sharp, the hall became a theater of mockery. But in the shadows of the chamber, far from the shining seats of power, stood a single human. He was no prisoner, no servant, but a messenger brought before the council to confirm the fall of his people. His clothes were torn, his face was tired, yet his eyes were steady. He listened to their words. He listened to their laughter. And though his body trembled from the long journey, his lips never moved. His silence was stronger than their mockery. The Overseer turned his gaze to the human. Tell us, survivor of Earth, do you not weep, do you not beg? Your kind is gone, and soon your name will fade from history. What say you now? The human raised his head slowly, his eyes locked with the Overseer's. For a long moment the hall grew quiet, even laughter froze. It was as if something unseen passed between them. A cold wind, a shadow of truth. Then the human spoke, his voice calm, almost gentle. You think you have seen our army? You think you have fought our strength? But what you saw was only the beginning. Murmurs rippled through the council. Some laughed again, trying to break the sudden tension. Others frowned, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. One warlord barked. Lies. Empty words from a beaten race, another added. Humans always boast, yet their bones litter the stars. The human did not argue. He did not shout. He simply stood with quiet strength. You believe the war is over, but the war has not yet begun, he said. Silence fell again, deep and heavy. The Overseer narrowed his eyes, but he did not answer. Instead, he waved his hand, and guards moved to drag the human away. As the doors closed behind him, the council burst once more into laughter, though their laughter was not as strong as before. A seed of unease had been planted later in private chambers. Some commanders whispered among themselves. What if the human spoke truth? What if we have not seen the full measure of Earth, but none dared voice such thoughts in the hall? Meanwhile, far across the void of space, signals pulsed in secret, old codes carried on hidden channels. Dark ships stirred in forgotten hangars. Humanity was not finished. It was only waiting back in the council hall. The Overseer raised his cup. To the end of humanity, he declared, and the lords echoed him. Yet in the quiet corners of the galaxy, the real story had just begun. And though the Empire mocked, though they celebrated, none of them realized that the words of the lone human were not a threat, but a warning that the galaxy would soon learn to fear, because humanity had not shown its true forces yet. The hidden signal. The prisoner transport drifted silently through space, its hull scarred from battles past. Inside its cold metal corridors, the lone human sat in chains. The guards laughed at him, calling him the last echo of a dead race. They did not know that each word of mockery only fueled his resolve. When the ship entered a quiet sector, far from the great fleets of the Empire, the human moved his hand slowly, carefully, as if shifting from discomfort, but hidden under the skin of his arm was a small device, so small that no alien scanner had detected it. He pressed it, and for a moment nothing happened. The guards mocked again, but deep in the darkness between stars, something stirred. A signal was released, not through radio, not through light, but through an old human code. A pulse carried on a channel so ancient, so strange, that alien machines could not even recognize it. It was the language of Earth's first colonies. Forgotten by the galaxy, remembered only by humans. The signal leapt across systems, bouncing from hidden relay to hidden relay. Some buried in asteroids, some disguised as wrecks, some built into the bones of derelict stations, and one by one they awakened. A small moon turned slowly, its surface cracked and cold. But beneath the crust a hangar door groaned open. Shadows of massive ships lined the underground chamber, their engines sleeping for decades, now lighting up with blue fire in another corner of space. A station hidden inside the rings of a gas giant hummed with life. Soldiers in black armor rose from stasis pods. Their eyes glowing faintly, they did not speak. They only moved with purpose. The human in chains smiled faintly, though the guards thought it was madness. Back in the Empire's capital, the Overseer was reviewing new reports. Alien scouts had detected strange pulses, but analysts dismissed them as background noise. One scientist tried to speak of patterns, but was silenced. No one wanted to listen to the idea that humans still had secrets. Meanwhile, whispers spread among civilians of the Empire. Traders spoke of human ships seen in remote sectors. Mercenaries told of human weapons purchased long ago. Rumors grew like vines in the dark. In a border outpost, an alien patrol detected an unknown beacon. The officer laughed. Another human trick. But when they approached, the beacon exploded with light, releasing dozens of drones that swarmed the patrol and erased it from existence. The Overseer received the news hours later, his lips curled in anger. Impossible. Their fleets are destroyed. But in his heart he felt a shiver. The lone human prisoner was brought before him again. The Overseer sneered. Your people are ashes. Your words are empty, why do you smile? The human answered softly. Because you still think you won, away. The signal reached a place even the Overseer could not imagine. Deep inside a forgotten sector, hidden from maps, there was a colossal station, older than the Empire itself, built by human hands when Earth first reached for the stars. Inside, a vast fleet rested, hundreds of warships designed not for show but for survival, each one coated with black armor that absorbed light, each one carrying weapons designed in silence, improved in secret, perfected for a day like this. The first of these ships stirred, its engines humming like the growl of a predator. Lights rippled along its hull, and on its command deck a captain opened her eyes. She had slept for decades, but now she rose with steady calm. The signal has been given, humanity calls. We answer. The fleet came alive. Back in the Empire's grand hall, celebrations still echoed. The lords drank. The generals boasted. None of them knew that in the dark corners of the galaxy, human forces were rising, silent and unseen. The lone human closed his eyes, feeling the pulse of the signal reach across the stars. Though bound in chains, he knew the truth. Humanity had not been defeated. Humanity had only been waiting, and now the waiting was over. The hidden signal had been sent, and with it, humanity's true war was about to begin. The first shock. The border patrol fleet of the Empire floated lazily near the ruins of Earth's orbit. Wreckage drifted like frozen corpses, metal twisted and broken. Alien commanders sipped dark liquids in their chairs, mocking the silence of space. They believed the war was finished. One officer sneered. This is all that remains of the humans, just dust and rock. His crew laughed, their claws tapping against steel panels. But then the stars shifted. At first it seemed like a trick of light, a shadow crossing behind the debris, then another shadow and another, shapes that did not belong to any wreck. Scanners flashed warnings, but the patrol dismissed them as errors. Suddenly space itself opened. Black ships slid out of the void. Silent and sharp, they bore no banners, no colors. Their hulls seemed to swallow starlight. The patrol commander barked. Identify them! His crew worked frantically. Scanners ran, codes checked, but nothing matched. Not even fragments of data. It was as if these ships were ghosts. The human fleet had arrived. The first shot came without sound. A spear of light tore through the largest alien cruiser, cutting it in half as if it were made of paper. The crew had no time to scream. Then the Black Fleet moved, silent, precise, every weapon hitting with perfect aim. Alien ships scattered in panic, their laughter gone, their pride turned to terror. One officer screamed, "Who are they? What race is this?" But the answer came through their comms. A human voice, calm and cold. You thought you destroyed us. You only destroyed our shadow. The patrol fleet tried to regroup, but every move was predicted, every formation broken. The human ships weaved through them like hunters in a dark forest, striking, vanishing. Striking again, within minutes the patrol was gone. Only silence and drifting fire remained. News traveled fast. Fragments of desperate transmissions reached nearby sectors. Words half broken with static. Unknown fleet, human voices. Overwhelming power. The Empire dismissed it at first. Another rumor. Another fear born from imagination. But when 3 more patrols vanished in the same way, even the generals grew uneasy in the council hall. The overseer slammed his hand against the arm of his throne. Impossible, humans cannot fight like this, yet deep inside, he remembered the warning of the lone human. The war has not yet begun. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into shouts. Traitors swore they had seen human fleets moving through hidden lanes. Mercenaries claimed human weapons unmatched by any design. Civilians began to fear the dark skies above them, not because of the Empire, but because of what might be returning. Meanwhile, in the heart of the hidden fleet, captains gathered in silence. They did not cheer at their victory. They did not boast one of them. A scarred veteran spoke quietly. This was only the first strike. They must know we are here now. Another replied, let them know. Fear is a weapon too. The fleet adjusted its course. Not to Earth, but deeper into Empire space. Their mission was not revenge. Their mission was survival. For centuries, humanity had watched and waited, building fleets in silence, learning from every mistake, preparing for the day when the galaxy would rise against them. And that day had come. Now the Empire would see not the farmers they mocked, not the builders they laughed at, but the warriors forged by necessity, warriors who had hidden their strength until the moment was right. The shock of the first strike was spreading. The Empire's commanders tried to hide it. But fear was growing faster than their orders. The overseer called his council once more, his voice shaking with anger. Crush them, find their fleets, erase them fully this time. But his lords no longer laughed. Their eyes darted nervously. Their confidence cracked. Somewhere in chains the lone human smiled, for he knew the truth. This was only the opening move. The real war was still to come, and the galaxy, once so certain of humanity's weakness, had just felt the first shock of what was waiting in the dark. The forgotten legions far away from the battles of the border, beyond the mapped sectors of the Empire, there were places no alien chart had ever shown. Regions of space dismissed as lifeless, barren and empty. But in truth they were not empty. They were the cradle of something the galaxy had forgotten. Inside a dead asteroid field, long since abandoned by miners, a hollowed rock shuddered. Ancient doors split open, and rows of machines stirred to life, their cores glowing red. They were human war drones, countless in number, built and stored for decades, each one waiting for a single signal. On a frozen moon orbiting a dim star, deep vaults opened. Thousands of armored soldiers marched forward, their suits black and silver, their eyes lit with quiet fire. They were not new recruits. They were warriors trained in secret colonies, trained not for fame but for survival. Each step they took was heavy with discipline. In the depths of a gas giant storm, where no alien dared to travel, an entire fleet rose from the swirling clouds, their hulls scarred with time, but their weapons sharp and strong. These ships had been built quietly by human hands, hidden from eyes that searched too casually. They were not for show. They were not for pride. They were for the day when humanity would need them. And that day had come. The forgotten legions awakened. While the Empire boasted of their victory, humanity had been moving silently for years, building in corners no one cared about, storing weapons in ruins no one visited, hiding soldiers among refugees, waiting for the perfect moment. Even among humans, few knew the full truth. Every colony thought they were alone. Every outpost thought they were the last. But now the hidden signal had revealed what was always there. Humanity was not scattered. Humanity was united in silence. The first fleets to awaken sent encrypted bursts, messages in an old tongue, a language of Earth long unused by the galaxy. The time has come, rise, remember who we are. In the hidden command station, the captains gathered again. The leader spoke softly. The Empire believed the farmers were all we had. They believed our front lines were our only lines. Let them see the legions now. In the capital of the Empire, reports arrived in waves. First a patrol vanished, then a fortress lost contact. Then entire systems reported strange black ships moving in formation. The generals argued among themselves. Some screamed for more fleets, others demanded silence. But none could deny the pattern. One frightened noble whispered, "We thought we fought their whole army, but what if that was only their beginning?" The word spread like a plague through the council. In the darkness of his cell, the lone human heard the distant thrum of engines. Though trapped, he knew what was happening. He closed his eyes and remembered the stories of old Earth, the stories of wolves that waited in the shadows, never striking until the prey was certain of safety. Humanity was the wolf. Across the galaxy the legions moved. Fleets appeared in places the Empire thought safe. Soldiers dropped on worlds the Empire thought secured. Drones swarmed over fortresses once called unbreakable. Aliens who once mocked humanity now ran in fear, shouting that the humans had returned. But wiser ones corrected them. No, the humans never left. They only waited. The Overseer watched the galaxy shift like sand under his claws. His pride cracking, his anger hollow, he shouted, "This is impossible, they were broken." But the truth was clear. The Empire had only fought the surface of humanity, never its depths. The forgotten legions were no myth. They were real, and they had risen. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Empire's fear. The Grand Council of the Empire was no longer a place of laughter. It was a place of whispers. The great lords who once mocked humanity now sat in silence, their eyes heavy with unease. Reports flooded the chamber, one after another. Cold voices of officers calling in before their signals were cut short. Patrol fleets erased, fortress worlds breached, supply lines torn apart. The galaxy that once bent its knee to the Empire was trembling. The Overseer slammed his hand against the table, his claws scraping against steel. Lies, all of it. Propaganda from a dying race, he roared. But the generals did not answer. They had seen the evidence. They had seen the recordings of black human ships carving through alien fleets with terrifying precision. A nervous noble spoke at last. Perhaps we underestimated them, perhaps we never fought their full strength. His words hung in the air like poison. No one wanted to admit it, but no one could deny it either. The fear spread beyond the council, through the streets of the capital. Civilians whispered in markets, merchants spoke in hushed tones. Mothers told their children not to look at the stars at night, for they feared what might descend across the Empire. Soldiers who once laughed at humanity now hesitated before battle. Their hands shook as they prepared their weapons, for they had heard the rumors. They had heard of the legions, the hidden fleets, the ancient armies that had risen in silence. The Overseer demanded a massive counterattack. Fleets gathered at the edge of human space, their numbers vast, their banners bright. Yet when they entered the dark sectors, they found nothing but silence. Then, without warning, the silence broke. Human ships appeared like shadows tearing through light, striking at weak points with perfect timing. Alien fleets collapsed not because they lacked power, but because their enemy always knew where to hit. It was as if humans had studied them for centuries, as if they knew every move before it was made in one battle. An entire alien armada surrounded a single human fleet, confident of victory, but the human ship split into fragments, vanishing into the void. Minutes later, they reappeared behind the armada, shredding it from the rear. Not a single human ship lost. The recordings of that battle spread like fire. Soldiers who watched it felt their blood run cold. Nobles who saw it could not sleep. Civilians began to speak of humanity not as prey, not as victims, but as predators hiding in plain sight in his cell. The lone human was brought before the Overseer again. The alien ruler glared at him with fury. "What trick is this? How are your people doing this?" The human did not bow. His voice was calm. "You mistook our silence for weakness. You mistook our patience for fear. You mistook our mercy for defeat," he said. The Overseer roared, "You cannot win, you are still too few." The human smiled faintly. "Then why do you tremble?" The Overseer froze, for his hand was indeed shaking. Across the galaxy, the shift was undeniable. Planets once loyal to the Empire began to question their rulers. Traders refused to enter human space. Mercenaries abandoned their contracts. Even some alien captains surrendered rather than face the black fleets. Fear had become a weapon sharper than any blade. The Empire was learning that wars are not lost only in battle. They are lost in the mind. And humanity had already broken the courage of its enemy. The lords of the council sat in silence that night. None dared to laugh anymore, none dared to mock, because in their hearts they knew the humans were not finished. They were only beginning. And the galaxy, once certain of the Empire's power, now whispered a different truth. The Empire was afraid. The turning tide. The Empire once believed its fortress worlds were unbreakable. Massive planets covered with guns, shielded with energy walls that had never fallen in 1,000 years. They were the symbols of dominance, proof that no enemy could touch the throne. But now those worlds trembled. The first strike came at dusk on a planet called Valar Prime. Its skies thick with towers of fire. Its oceans covered with floating cannons. The generals assured the lords that no human fleet could breach it. They laughed with hollow pride. Then the lights dimmed. Satellites that had circled the planet for centuries suddenly went silent. One by one, the entire defense network shut down. Alien commanders shouted in panic. "What is happening?" "Restore power." But no answer came. From the shadows of space, human ships appeared not in thousands, not in millions, but in dozens. Yet each one struck like an army. Missiles cut through the silent guns. Beams tore through the shields, precision unmatched. In less than a single night, Valar Prime fell. The planet that was never supposed to break lay in silence, and when dawn rose, it was not the banners of the Empire that flew above the towers, but the silent mark of humanity. Word spread across the galaxy. Fortress after fortress collapsed. Defenses meant to last forever were torn down in hours. The Empire tried to send reinforcements, but every route was blocked. Every trap turned back against them in one sector. The Empire gathered its largest fleet. Tens of thousands of ships, proud banners glowing. They moved together in unity, confident that sheer numbers would crush humanity. But when they entered the dark void of Sector 9K, nothing was there, no enemy, no fleet, only silence. Then it began. From behind asteroids, from inside gas clouds, from the shadows of wrecks, human ships emerged, weaving between the armada like predators among herd beasts, striking with surgical precision. Every hit broke command centers, fuel lines, or engines. The alien fleet dissolved into chaos. The battle lasted only hours. When it ended, more than half the alien armada was gone. The rest fled into darkness. The humans vanished again, leaving only silence behind. The overseer raged in his throne. How can they do this? But no general dared answer, for the truth was clear. Humanity fought as if they had studied the Empire for centuries. Every tactic, every weakness, every blind spot, all known, all used. Fear was no longer enough. Now came despair. The overseer called for his war council. Voices shouted. "We must strike Earth again," another shouted. "Earth is not their center anymore," another whispered. "What if Earth was never their center? What if humanity is everywhere?" The overseer's claws shook, his voice broke as he said, "Then we face an enemy that has no end." Across the Empire's cities, riots broke out. Civilians no longer believed in the safety of the throne. Some cried out for peace, some begged for surrender. Others prayed to stars for mercy. But humanity did not seek their destruction. In every battle, they spared civilians. They only targeted weapons, armies, and rulers. This mercy became another kind of fear, for it showed control, it showed discipline. It showed power beyond rage in his cell. The lone human heard the news whispered by guards. Fortress worlds fallen, fleets broken. The Empire trembling, he closed his eyes and whispered, "The tide has turned." The guards mocked him no longer. They were afraid to even look at him. The galaxy was shifting. What once was certain now crumbled. The predator had become prey. The hunters had become hunted. And in every shadow, in every whisper, one truth grew louder. Humanity was not finished. Humanity was rising. And the turning tide would drown the Empire. The revelation, the galaxy had grown quiet. The laughter of the Empire was gone. The shouts of its generals had faded. Its fleets scattered like ashes on the wind. Everywhere whispers rose. Whispers of the humans who had returned. Whispers of the battles that could not be explained. In the grand hall of the Empire, the overseer stood weak, his once proud form bent beneath the weight of fear. Nobles gathered, but none dared to speak. The air itself felt heavy. Then the doors opened. Soldiers dragged the lone human prisoner forward once more, his chains rattling, but his steps were steady. His eyes calm, the overseer hissed, "Your people should not exist. You should be broken, yet you rise, you strike. You shatter what cannot be shattered. Why? How?" His voice cracked between rage and terror. The human lifted his head, and for the first time, a small smile touched his lips. "Because you never fought us," he said, his voice echoing in the silent hall. The council stirred. "What does that mean?" a noble whispered. But the human continued. "You fought shadows, you fought decoys. You fought only what we allowed you to see all this time. You thought our front lines were our strength, but they were only our mask." The overseer staggered back. "Impossible. No race could hide such power." The human's voice grew colder. "We learned from you. We learned from your cruelty, from your wars, from your arrogance. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength, so we built our strength where you could never look. We prepared not for conquest but for survival, and survival has made us stronger than you could ever imagine. Across the galaxy, the truth was unfolding. More fleets emerged, not hundreds, not thousands, but entire waves of ships, rising from places once thought dead. Entire colonies revealed themselves, once hidden, now marching forward. Alien worlds gasped as massive human fortresses appeared on moons they thought barren. Supply chains that no one had noticed suddenly came alive. Entire legions stepped out of shadows. The Empire's spies whispered the unthinkable. What we have seen is not even their whole army. In the grand hall, the overseer collapsed into his throne, his claws shaking, his voice barely a whisper. Then what we faced. What was it? The human answered, his eyes burning with quiet fire. It was only our second wave. The words struck the chamber like thunder. Lords froze. Generals trembled. Civilians who later heard the tale whispered it like prophecy. The overseer tried to rise, but his body refused. Fear crushed him more than any chain. He knew in that moment that the war was lost. Not because of weapons, not because of fleets, but because the spirit of his empire had already broken. The human stepped closer. Guards did not stop him. Their courage had vanished. His voice carried like steel. We do not seek to rule you. We do not seek to enslave you. We only seek to survive, but remember this. If you come for us again, you will not face shadows. You will face the full force of humanity, and that force will end you. The chamber was silent. None dared answer, and beyond the throne world, the galaxy held its breath. Allies of the Empire looked to the stars in terror. Neutral races whispered in awe, and even the bravest predators felt their hearts tremble, for they all now understood the truth. The humans were not finished. They were never finished. They had been waiting, watching, preparing, and if the Empire thought the war was over, they were wrong, because humanity's true forces had only just appeared.